Hey everybody, my name is Josh Clark, and today I'm going to be discussing the research involved with my series of interviews with the University of Mount Union's own President Thomas Boatsman. Now, the idea behind choosing President Boatsman as the subject for my project actually came from kind of a two birds, one stone scenario. Let me explain what I mean by this. I'm currently serving as the news director and online editor for the University of Mount Union's media program here, Raider Student Media. Now, I'm responsible for publishing, managing, and creating content for our student news paper, The Dynamo. For the entire first half of the first semester, I'd been writing COVID-19 updates and stories weekly, constantly, but nothing really ever prompted me to reach out to any school official to ask questions. It didn't really bother me as much. I followed the rules, I stayed in my dorm, kept my mask on, socially distanced, so I really never thought anything of it. However, I'm also the second floor resident assistant of Ketchum Hall, and about at this halfway point is when I'd get a lot of concern from residents. They'd ask me, why is it that we can't have visitors in our room, even when they're students that we go to school, we go to class with, we see them every day. Now, I never really had a solid answer for that. I'd tell them, hey, look, these are the rules. I don't agree with them, I don't disagree with them, it's just my job, so I enforce them. Now, after hearing this so much, it really got me wondering, why is it that students can congregate in the masses with no mask and no social distancing 2 feet outside of the building, but when they'd walk in, it would be trouble? It was this lack of consistency, coupled with numerous rumors that had been spreading around campus about COVID-19, that really pushed me in the direction to write a story about this. People had questions and they needed answers. However, I didn't have those answers, but I knew there was someone out there that did. I met with a lot of advisors and collaborated with a lot of Raider Student Media people in trying to figure out the best outlet for this, but it finally hit me. What about the president? Someone who serves as a figurehead and someone who should know the answers to these questions. I figured that's exactly what I have to do. But first, I need to do my research. I was well versed in COVID news at the time because it was just about the only thing that was on the news or social media. However, I needed something specific. I needed something close to home, and I needed something I could get answers from. Unfortunately, there wasn't a heaping massive information surrounding COVID-19 and Mount Union specifically, but I had to use what I could find. Specifically, I dug up the confirmed cases reporting website for Mount Union, in which it displayed the active cases and the total recovered cases, along with the 2020 Fall Responsible Reopening Guide, in which I printed out the page of it, cut out subsections, and put them in my notes. I knew that I couldn't walk into that office empty-handed because this would be Raider Student Media's first interview with the president of Mount Union, and if we made a fool of ourselves, then we most likely wouldn't get an interview back. Now, this also meant that I couldn't just have statistics prepared for me when I went into that office. I needed to be well versed in my professionalism. Given my past, I've interviewed plenty of students before for stories, and it was always comfortable and natural because these people were my peers, but something about the president of a university just took it to that next level. So I sought help from other advisors and like I said, people from Raider Student Media, in which they told me how to be professional, but I also needed some real scholarly research, and that's where I found Mary Munter's California Management Review titled How to Conduct a Successful Media Interview, where she stated, one of the problems associated with media interviews is that you're dealing with two audiences, the reporter and listeners or readers. You must keep both of them in mind. Many business people assume the reporter will be hostile. This stereotype of evil media is just as unfair as the oft-bemoaned stereotype of evil business. Instead of concentrating on the negative prejudgments of the media, try to enter the interview with a sound attitude. By the time it actually came for the interview to take place, it went fantastic. And I mean this because he answered the questions that I had in full detail. He denied rumors, he answered questions about the COVID task force team here, and he really gave me content to put in a story for consumption from students. And not only that too, but he also referenced me to other campus officials that I followed up with more interviews with. For example, Dean Frazier has his own entirely different story on there. I went to Randall Flint, who is the health commissioner of the Alliance City Health Center, and I got a full interview from him and put that into a story as well. Now, I couldn't do this without the use of the archives used. Not only the living archives, in the case of the president, but also audio archives, like the voice memos that I recorded over an hour of footage with, because there was no way that I was going to be able to write down everything on pen and paper during those interviews without missing something. So I would take these voice memos that I was granted permission to use, take them back after the interviews, and figure out just exactly what parts of the interviews that I wanted to use, transcribed them, and then formulated this story out of them. Like I just mentioned, there's over an hour of footage from these voice memos, but I'd really like to play you a clip of them just so you can get the general atmosphere of how these interviews went. Was there ever any time during the year which you genuinely felt that we would have to shut down again? Was that fear something common?
I think it was more every day when you get up and you think, oh, this could be the day where it all derails. And talking to the presidents, there's a lot of schools right now closed in Michigan and Pennsylvania and New York, so states that are not too far away from us. And even in the OAC, talking about the athletic program and trying to find ways to make that work. That's our most coordinated thing that we do with other schools. So, yeah, but I don't think we ever got close to where we were like, it's time for us to go. But I think on a daily basis, I think all of us sort of had that sensation that this is the day where things don't work out quite the way that we had hoped.
Now, it was absolutely essential to have memos like this because if I were to misrepresent something or misquote, I could be in serious trouble. So I relied on these in order for total accuracy. Now that I've mentioned the audio archives, I'd also like to mention the visual archives. And this is also another crucial, important aspect of the story because every story on the Dynamo requires a visual representation or visual aid to accompany a story. So without the picture, there's no story. So that's why I've included here a picture of President Boatsman and here a picture of Dean Fraser. Both are reasons that the stories are still online right now, so they're absolutely essential. Now, I'm going to provide some screen grabs here of the articles right now, but I seriously do urge you to actually go check out the articles on the Dynamo right now because one, I put a lot of hard work into them and I'm really proud of them, and two, at the end of the day, we're all students and faculty here. We live here, we work here. This is all health and safe information that we need to know. But regardless, I'll move on to my last point, which is the last archive that I've included in this project, being the experiential archive. Now, I mentioned this archive because I recently secured another interview with President Boatsman just a few days ago, and in it, I asked him questions that were kind of a callback from the first interview. So during the first interview, it was questions like, what's the threat that University of Mount Union is facing right now with COVID, and who's dealing with it? Now, questions I asked him in this most recent interview were questions like, how do you think we handled COVID-19? Or looking forward, like, what are the chances that we return to normalcy come next semester? Now, this was something I had a lot of fun doing, and I really do appreciate the craft of putting research into something that you're actually passionate about, and it's something I couldn't have done without. I'm alluding to those archives. If I didn't have my audio, if I didn't have those visuals, if I didn't have the experience, there wouldn't be stories right now, and there wouldn't be information for students on campus. Thank you.